Welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and I'm here with the Honorable Judge Kathy Hoogstra, and we're here to discuss the race for the 14th Circuit Court.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's really important, I think, for people to understand what the role of the judge is in your court, as well as the kind of cases you handle, and ways that the public can understand a little more about you personally.
Well, let me give you a little bit of my background. I was sworn in as an attorney in June of 1990. My husband and I moved here with two small children, and about 20 days after I was sworn in, I had my third son. I stayed home and raised my small children for 2.5 years before I started as a law clerk. I worked as a law clerk for Judge Kabza, who actually has this court. I am sitting in his court. And I also worked for Judge Graves. I spent 3 years working as a law clerk for those, and after that, I became a public defender. As a public defender, I worked in the family court most of the time, and in the family court, I dealt with cases of abuse and neglect, and also cases of juvenile criminal cases. Those are called juvenile delinquent cases. After being in a public defender for approximately 8 years, I joined the Friend of the Court staff as a juvenile court referee. What a referee does is they hear cases instead of the judge, in place of the judge. And I had an opportunity to work in that position for about 3 years. It gave me a lot of good experience, and I enjoyed it very much. In 2007, a new position in the probate court was created, and I joined the probate court as their court administrator and also as the probate register. I was in that position for 7 years before Judge Ruck decided to retire, and when he retired, I put my name in the hat along with 6 other individuals, and I was appointed to this position. I've been here for about 15 months, and I am assigned to the family court in Muskegon County, and I enjoy it very much.
Well, that's terrific. Well, with a broad range of experience like that, I'm sure that's prepared you for many of the things that come before your court now. Could you explain a little bit about some of your development as a person working within the court system?
Well, I've had the opportunity to work both behind the scenes as a law clerk. You get to write opinions, do legal research, really as a right hand to the judge, and I also, as a litigator, was in front of the court. So I got a lot of experience on my feet dealing with clients day to day, doing the activities that a litigator needs to do to vigorously represent their client. Then I had the opportunity to work as a referee. So then you get the position kind of as a junior associate type of judge, and hold hearings and follow the law and follow the Constitution as far as how those processes need to be held and how the hearings need to, the timeliness of the hearings and the aspects of the hearings that need to be covered for the litigants. And as a court administrator, it really gave me a broader perspective of what's expected of courts in general. I was able to interact with county commissioners, interact with other court administrators, really get a broad perspective of how to manage a court. And when people think of judges, they don't think of managers at all. They think of a judge sitting on the, behind the desk at the bench. But I have a caseload of over 900 cases, and there is a huge aspect to my job that I have to manage the cases appropriately that are before me. State Court Administrative Office is an office that is a working arm of the Supreme Court. The State Court Administrative Office has time guidelines that we have to follow on every case that is before the court. And that means managing your docket well. Not only, I don't want to push cases through because I want every litigant to have their day in court, but there is an aspect to this that with 900 cases that things have to be done efficiently and effectively.
Well, you mentioned divorce, you mentioned juvenile law, you mentioned abuse and neglect cases, custody cases. Mm-hmm. You also have issues of parenting time.
Child support.
And child support.
Yeah.
Now, how important is the preparation for the attorneys that come before you, as well as your understanding of what the follow-through is that will happen with your cases?
Yeah. I always expect the attorneys that are before me to be prepared. It is my personal philosophy that I will be prepared for every hearing that I go in front of. It's just giving people their respect that they're due, the dignity that they're due. I'm here to listen. I'm here to make a judgment, but I can only make a judgment based on, the good information that I'm given.
Right.
And there's a lot of times I'm not comfortable making the judgment right then, and I ask for more information. I have no qualms whatsoever to say, we need to step back, get a bigger picture, get some more information so that the judgments and the decisions that are made that really impact children and families and all kinds of circumstances, that those judgments are made very well informed, that due diligence is put into each decision that's made. One of the other things that I need to talk about, which surprised me when I became a circuit court judge, was the amount of time that this circuit court and family division spends on personal protection orders. Speaking with other judges, I would guess, and all of us have kind of agreed, that about 20% of our time is spent on personal protection orders. It's a crucial thing that these orders are done timely. They have to be done within 24 hours. Typically in my court, I will have a personal protection order done, reviewed, the petition filed, I review it, the order signed. I typically try to do those within an hour or two. It's very important for me that particular issue is dealt with as soon as possible.
Well, that brings me to something that I think that people might not understand about the court, is that you're on call almost 24 hours a day. Yeah, I mean, what are some of the things that are expected of the judge in terms of, you're not just coming in 9 to 5. There's a lot of things that you do beyond just the courtroom.
A lot of management stuff and on call. You're absolutely right. Actually, I'm not on call 24/7, thank goodness. It's every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks it's 24/7. So I get a break for 2 weeks, and my other family court colleagues take the other rotation. But with technology today, it's a lot different than it was in the past. I mean, previously, there'd be police officers coming to the door, or people from the Department of Human Services coming actually to the judge's home looking for signatures on petitions and pickup orders and stuff like that. Now we have, I have an iPad. The petitions can be scanned. I can read them. I talk to people on their cell phone. I can sign signatures electronically, and a lot of that can be done now without, so much of the shuffle going back and forth, because a lot of these cases, particularly the ones that you're getting a call at 12 o'clock or 2 in the morning, there needs to be an immediate decision made. There needs to be something done immediately, and the whole driving back and forth, that has been eliminated. So there's a much more efficiency in being able to get those orders done.
Well, that's helpful, because I think beyond rendering judgment, you also have a sense of the wraparound in terms of the consequences that have bearing on the families and the well-being of the people that are the litigants, let's say.
Yeah. I have a big concern, and I understand the importance of the family division. The family division was actually carved out again by the Supreme Court in 1998. And the idea behind the family division is that you have one judge, one family. So that one judge deals with a family that has issues, maybe in guardianship issues, juvenile delinquency issues, issues of divorce, child support, parenting time. So instead of different issues going in front of, or different family issues going in front of different judges, it goes in front of one judge. The beauty of that is I get a bigger picture. And the beauty of it is also that I can look at bigger solutions maybe to some of the problems that are going on. I like to, and as an attorney when I was litigating, I often did this, acted as a guardian ad litem for children. And in cases of high conflict, divorce cases with children that are involved, a lot of times I love having a guardian ad litem appointed to the children. It's a voice for the children. And sometimes they kind of get lost in the shuffle between the parents that are having an issue, and that guardian ad litem will go to the home. It'll go to the mom's home when the child is there. It'll go to the father's home when the child is there. The guardian ad litem will talk to the soccer coach, the piano teacher, the football coach, the favorite aunt. Whoever has an impact in this child's life, to try to gather information, because my job in those situations is to find out what's in the best interest of this child. And there's a lot of times, especially in high conflict cases, I want more information. I want to know the larger lay of the land, because the decisions that I make have incredible impact on this family. And I want to make sure I get it right.
Well, and I think your focus is on creating resolution as well. So in a previous interview, you had addressed that you like keeping a child closer to a family rather than being institutionalized, for example.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about what you have to weigh in terms of what's in the best interest of the child? Because you have conflicting schedules for parents.
Right.
You have financial burdens for each of them as well. So could you explain a little bit more about that?
Right. Well, I have, by law, it is my obligation to find the most family-like setting for children. Now, I'm talking about abuse and neglect cases. When the Department of Human Services goes in, and they have to do a safety assessment. And if their assessment comes through that the home environment of this child is not safe, and there isn't small things that can be done to make it safe, then they're obligated to take that child out of the home. That I'm obligated to find by law where is the most family-like setting for that child. And I try as best I can to find relatives, grandma, aunt, anyone to provide that most family-like setting. Every study that I've read, every journal article that I've read indicates that it is in the best interest of the child to be in a family-like setting.
Well, we mentioned preparation in terms of coming to court, but let's talk a little bit about your background and how you prepared yourself in terms of your personal life transition to pursuing a legal career, as well as how your own personal family, gave you some background in terms of understanding the issues that come before your court.
Well, I've been married for 32 years. My husband and I moved here in 1990, and boy, we had nothing. Well, no, we had 2 degrees. He's a physician. He works at the Hackley Hospital emergency room. And I had my law degree, and we had a whole bunch of debt. And 2 little kids and a 3rd one on the way. And we wanted a small community to raise our children. And we came here. I'm from Grand Rapids. My husband's actually from New Jersey. Met at Calvin College. We came here, and he was recruited by the physicians here at Hackley Hospital, and they wanted him here. And I came on one of the recruiting trips, and we went over to Muskegon Christian School and watched a 5th grade basketball game. And it was like, you know what? This is a great place to raise kids. And
I agree.
And we moved here, and in the beauty of the lake shore and the activities. I mean, of course my kids are water skiers. Of course they, snow ski. Of course because that's what they grew up with. And they didn't have an appreciation for it at all until they went away to college, And then they came back, and it was like, wow, this is great.
Now, you mentioned you went to Calvin College, but you also went on to law school. Can you tell us a bit about
Right.
that?
I graduated from Calvin College in 1982. I got married soon after that. Moved down to Ann Arbor, helped my husband through medical school. After Ann Arbor, his residency was in Chicago, and that's when I applied for law school. So while he was completing his residency, I was in law school at Chicago-Kent. That's associated with the Illinois Institute of Technology. Quite a highly ranked law school. Had an excellent legal research and writing program. I also was involved in the clinical program, litigating, so learned how to, do some litigation during my time at law school. Enjoyed Chicago, loved Chicago, but not a place to raise a small family. Not like Muskegon. Muskegon's a wonderful place to raise a family.
Well, once you came into working within the court system, can you talk about some of the collaboration and the guidance that you got from your fellow judges and people here in the court system?
Yeah, when I was hired by Judge Kabza and Judge Graves, they have been, Judge Kabza was a wonderful mentor. He worked hard. That was a hard-working man. And Judge Graves, such different personalities, but how they managed and ran their courtrooms was really interesting. Very effective, both of them, very effective as how they ran their courtroom, but personality-wise completely different. And what a great learning experience to watch how it's not one size fits all. It is, there's different ways to do this, and how they treated the citizens of Muskegon County just with the utmost of respect and the utmost of dignity. And And you really have to create that. You have to create that environment in your courtroom. You have to create that environment among your staff. And it's very important, and I learned from them. As a litigator and a public defender in family court, I got to work with Judge Mullally and Judge Pittman and Judge Ruck, actually, whose seat I took over. And they have been wonderful mentors. And again, individuals who manage and run their courtrooms in just the most utmost professional and dignified way. And you learn from that. You learn from that, and you appreciate it. As an attorney, you don't always show up with the best client. I mean, as a public defender, you don't get a choice of who your client is, and to see them function in their settings, and to see them treat the litigants with the utmost of dignity, even if they weren't going to win that day. Even if you're not going to win, because you're not going to win all the time. They felt that they were heard. They felt that it was a fair forum, and they felt like I can live with that decision because I felt like I was heard. That's what I want to bring. That's what I want to bring to this office. Even if you're not going to win in my courtroom, you have been heard. You have been treated with dignity. You have been treated with integrity. And that's what I want to do.
Well, and that leads into why do you want to continue in this position? Now, you were appointed, but you have served within the system, so you were honored by your
Right.
colleagues.
Right.
So, what are some of the things you hope to accomplish in this position in the 14th Circuit Court?
Well, I'm going to remain in the family division of the Circuit Court, and I have been given a grant by the State Court Administrative Office that is associated with the Supreme Court. I've been given a grant to create a juvenile mental health court. We are in the process of, I believe it's going to be kind of a soft start, the beginning of November. I saw a need. I saw some of the things that we were doing with our juvenile delinquents. Those are minors that commit crimes. And I thought that we could do better. The beauty of being in the family court, the beauty of a juvenile delinquent case is that not only do I have authority to put the juvenile on probation and have the juvenile engage in services, but I can order the parent to engage in services. I can order siblings to engage in services. This mental health court, my goal is to create a better environment for the child to be in, a better family environment so that we don't keep on seeing the next sibling coming up, when they turn 15 or 16, and to create just community-wide competencies so that we can deal with our youth in a much better way. I want them to stay here. I want to create a better environment here for them to be in. I want them to be productive Muskegon County citizens.
Well, that's really vital, and that leads to another point that I want to discuss in terms of not just the wraparound services for the families and those associated with those who come before the court, but also how can we help to stop the revolving door? How do we help to address those who may not need to be incarcerated but can be dealing with substance abuse issues, with other kinds of behavioral modifications that will get their lives back on track? Because I think there's a concern in the public that once a kid starts getting a record, that it may be a downward spiral that they can't get out of. And in a lot of cases, I think people don't realize that the judge is really serving in some role as a healer to try and bring the child back to a normal state.
Well, and we've got, in the juvenile court, we've got a program, or it's just, again, it's back to how these are normally processed. We review these cases all the time. And if I see something starting to unravel, if it's supposed to be a 90-day review and I see something start to unravel, I'm going to order, I want 1, 2, 3 and done. And I want to see what's happening in 30 days. And if you're not doing 1, 2, 3 in 30 days, we're going to come back and take a look-see. If it's good or if it's shaky, well, I may see you in 2 weeks, or I may see you on a weekly basis. And I always say to some of the kids that are on probation, we're going to get to know each other very well, very well. And they just kind of look at me kind of scary, and I'm like, I've had 3 kids, and there's a way to manage a case and to keep things on track. It's the little things, Sometimes it's the little things. Just a little push this way will keep you on track, and that's what we need to do.
Well, and sometimes there are issues where there isn't a parent that's missing.
Right.
There's a parent that's missing in the home,
Right.
or some other consequences that the child is dealing with that they don't know how to manage.
Right. It's tough raising kids. I mean, my husband was a great dad, is a great dad. It's tough raising kids. You need support systems. And there is a huge element of poverty that greatly affects a child. I mean, if a family doesn't have financial resources, it's difficult for that child maybe to engage in sports that they want to. They can't afford the equipment. They can't afford the gas to get to the practice. They can't afford, different things. So there's a lot of, barriers sometimes for these kids to succeed. And we try to work around those barriers. One thing that I've always noticed about Muskegon County, I've worked for several nonprofits. I've been on the board of Love Incorporated. I'm very involved in my church. One thing that I've noticed about Muskegon County is that the cooperation among the nonprofits is incredible. And if you give a call for help, people come. There has been in the last 2 or 3 years a call for help for our young people here in town, and there are several programs that are up and running. There's a stay program, which is from the governor on down, kind of recognizing that too many kids are being booted out of school, and where do they go and what do they do with their time? I mean, that's just too much time on their hands, And there's a lot of different programs that are coming along that are taking these young individuals and just getting them back on track, because we know education, it's about education. You have to have those tools to be successful in life.
Well, I imagine another thing that's important is developing that link of trust with the people who come before your court, that sense of confidence that they can be heard out. Because sometimes there's that fear. I mean, even just coming on camera, sometimes they say, well, I make a mistake. Will I be able to tell everything I need to tell the judge?
Right.
So I would imagine, as with attorneys as well as with judges, you need people to be upfront and be honest and really lay their cards on the table so you can deal with that, rather than, why didn't you tell me later on that you
Right.
found out that they were still engaging in behavior?
Right. And we have a lot of ways to check up on them. I mean, we've got tether programs that have a GPS. They know where they are. If they're not in the house, they kind of know where they are. And then all the monitoring that can be done regarding if there's using any substances that they shouldn't be using, the drug screens and things like that. But the more engaged, it's the decision to engage. The more engaged the individual is and the family is, I haven't seen anyone from the prosecutor's office, from the sheriff's department, anyone that won't say, okay, if you're willing to engage, how can we help you? How can we help you?
Well, I think that says a lot for our system as well, because I know that prosecutor DJ Hilson, they want to work together to create good outcomes. And that's probably part of the new day of where we're at here in
Right.
2014, where we want to make sense of all these processes, because they're very costly to the citizens. They may not realize that the amount of cases, you have 917 cases,
Right.
and PPOs and personal protection orders. There's real effect on the community when we're not living in a way that's supportive. And so I think that the public should understand this is the role of a judge, is to help to make sense of these dilemmas that we face as individuals and as families, so that we have a community that is appreciative of one another.
Right. Well, and historically, I mean, we've always had places for our disputes to be heard. And there's a certain point where somebody just needs to be heard. Whether they're going to win the day or not win the day, they need to be heard. Their story needs to be heard. And that's a part of a whole community's reconciliation, is that individual had their opportunity to be heard. And that's my role, that's my role, to create that forum. To create that forum where they have an opportunity to be heard, to be treated with dignity, to be treated with respect, and then they can move on. They can move on. And it has a ripple effect. It has a positive ripple effect in our community when individuals are treated that way.
Well, that's really important. I appreciate you telling me that. Now let's talk a little bit about what's coming up 4 weeks from now, and that's the election. And you've been out in the public for quite a bit now, presenting yourself before things. What are some of the things that you've learned about running for office, as well as what people expect of you as well?
Yeah. Well, one thing I learned about Muskegon County loves their yard signs, and I'm a yard sign expert. And hopefully the wind will die down a little bit, because that's really impacts yard signs. The other thing I've learned is that this is an important election. I'm asking for your support here, because this is an important election. A lot of times judges' elections are, way on the back page, after the proposals, after all the other candidates. But this is an important election, and I got to tell you why. We have 10 judges in Muskegon County, and we just had a new judge sworn in, Judge Hoogstra. Wonderful, wonderful judge. He's going to do a really good job. But within the next 24 months, we're going to have 2 new judges. And we not only need people who are going to be good judges, we need people who are going to be leaders in this position. I've had several leadership roles. I have been a president of a school board. I've been president of the Bar Association, president of the Women Lawyers Association. The Supreme Court has appointed me to several statewide committees. Not only do we need judges who are knowledgeable and hardworking, but we need to have judges who are ready and willing to take that leadership role. I think that's the difference in this election at this time. We're going to have 2 wonderful judges who are going to not be able to run. The Constitution says after you turn 70, you're not able to run. And we just need judges not only with the background knowledge, but also with the leadership capabilities.
Well, that's really important, and it's your part as a voter out there to make sure you show up and have your voice heard. So pay attention to the whole. But don't forget that the judges are just as important as the governor, as the senator, as your representatives.
Yep.
All these people make important decisions that affect your lives and the well-being of the community. So I want to encourage you to go out and vote and make your best choice. And Your Honor, thank you very much for all your time and your attention.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on Meet the Candidates.
Judge Kathy Hoogstra has over 20 years' experience working for Muskegon County.
I have been a law clerk, which means you work behind the bench. I've been a litigator, which means you work in front of the bench. I've been a referee, which means you work instead of the judge. We need individuals who are able to lead. I want to give parents and children every opportunity to succeed.
Vote to retain Judge Kathy Hoogstra on November 4th. Paid for by the Committee to Retain Judge Kathy Hoogstra.